It was July 2006, and I'd just been snorkeling with small sharks and stingrays outside our idyllic water villa in the Maldives. It was truly the ultimate in relaxation and with zero stress. But about 10 minutes after getting out of the sea, I felt a mild headache coming on quite rapidly, so I went for a lie down. But within minutes, one side of my head was absolutely pounding, and I thought my right eyeball was on fire. Having never really suffered with headaches before, other than the odd hangover, I knew something wasn't quite right. It wasn't quite the start to our honeymoon I was expecting, to be honest. So I tried a few paracetamol, but to no avail. And it wasn't long before my wife and the resort management got a little bit concerned, so they decided to call in a flying doctor from the mainland, who, after a few obligatory checks, ended up prescribing me migraine medication. Needless to say, this unfortunately didn't help at all, and after a week of headaches, we returned home and swiftly managed to get a neurologist appointment for me. I eventually had brain scans, and this confirmed nothing untoward was going on, and I was diagnosed to be suffering from cluster headaches, which I'd never heard of. Now, I was lucky not to be one of many who are misdiagnosed for years as suffering from migraines. And I was given a course of steroids, and eventually the bout subsided, and that was that. Or so I thought. A couple of years later, without warning, the headaches returned in the middle of the night. And since then, I've had bouts occurring on average every 18 months to 2 years, lasting from about 3 weeks to 4 months, day in, day out. But what are they? Cluster headaches. I've had them on the train, aeroplanes, on the beach, eating out, watching TV, at the cinema, and during meetings. For me, they last from about 15 minutes to 2 or 3 hours, and there's no rhyme or reason to whether it's once a day or 4 to 6 times a day. They start without warning, with a warming feeling behind one eye. My nose runs from one nostril and one eye goes red and starts watering. My eyelid then droops, and then the burning sensation begins. These initial symptoms are like my air raid sirens. Once this sequence begins, I know I've only got a few minutes to take action. The pressure builds up, and within moments it's like a red hot poke is forcing itself out from behind my eye. And the odd thing is, as quick as they come on, they can disappear. There's no sense of the pain subsiding or any after effects. The pain just stops, and the only feeling is really one of exhaustion. Over the years, I've tried most of the official medications, verapamil, steroids, sumatriptan, nasal spray, sumatriptan self-administered injections, but I've vowed not to do those again after passing out in the toilets at work. And I turned to the internet for potential solutions, as you do. Downing a can of Red Bull, sucking ice cubes, cold showers, not really practical in the office, cold air exposure, and also deep breathing, press-ups, and neck massages. But I drew the line at magic mushrooms, to be honest. Pure oxygen has been my only real guaranteed source of relief. So while it's quite cumbersome and certainly not an option for when travelling or in the office, until 2022 it's my only viable option. Now, daytime cluster headaches are bad enough, but night times are really another level. Typically they start about 90 minutes after I go to sleep, almost like clockwork. I'm first aware of a very surreal sort of nightmare, and then during this I start to realise it's real, but it takes a while to wake up. And the start of a bout is usually worst, as I have to find my tank of oxygen. And once the bout's underway, it's always at hand right next to my bed, and the usual pattern starts: wake from a dream, know it's a headache, reach for the mask, take the oxygen for 10 or 15 minutes, job done, get back to sleep. What's odd about cluster headaches is that for me, unlike the traditional headaches or migraines, from which I've never suffered, darkness and quiet doesn't help. So if an attack happens in the daytime, I actively seek out noise. I turn the music up, pace around the room. Turning off bright lights doesn't make any difference for me. Keeping active is really key. Sitting still, lying down isn't an option. And not to take anything from sufferers of headaches and migraines, but the pain from cluster headaches is so severe. And trying to explain it to other people is tricky, as most people can sometimes be dismissive. Comments along the lines of, "Oh, I get headaches quite a lot, do you want a paracetamol? My friend has migraines, why didn't you go and lie down for a few hours?" That works for them. But when you find a fellow sufferer, or even a doctor that understands, it's amazing as they really get it. People struggle to understand how you can go from zero pain to wanting to literally cut your own arm off within minutes. And it's not just me that suffers either. My wife's been a fantastic support through my bouts for the past 19 years. During my last bout, which lasted from July until late September, I had one nighttime episode that was so bad I was literally banging my head on the wall. My wife held me back, and I was like begging her to scratch and hit me, because obviously she wouldn't, but there was nothing I could do. My oxygen tank was on empty because it had run out from the bad episode the previous night. The pain was indescribable. My wife patiently suggested the next morning I tried to get hold of the Gammacore device I'd read about in the press. Initially, this was a struggle to try and get a fast-track appointment with a neurologist, but I persisted and eventually was offered Gammacore to my delight. I was determined to try something new that meant I wasn't feeling like I had to be constantly at home near my oxygen tank just in case I was going to get a headache. And the ability to have something on you, whether you're at the shops, in the office or travelling, is a life changer for sufferers. So I've been using Gammacore for a couple of years now, and thankfully have no cluster headaches since then. But if and when they do return, I know I've got something close by, wherever I am, that will give me relief from the agony. And for me, cluster headaches is a misnomer. Clusters, correct, but they're certainly not aches. The pain is indescribable, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But I'm one of the lucky ones. I got a correct diagnosis early on. I don't suffer chronically, and I've now got a viable option for managing my pain anytime and anywhere.